Hello, cuties. We have moved into our new space, and I have finished my March TBR, and it is time for the wheel of randomizing my TBR. As you can see, I'm still not set up in here yet. I'm about to do a bit of a DIY project, so all my books are in a pile right there. Which will make this a little bit difficult to do, but we're going to do our best with the tools we have around us. We will be doing that. But first, let's get to how the March TBR went. This was a special one. I didn't use the wheel last time. I used all my moderators who gave me prompts, and there were 9 of them, so it was more than usual. I finished by the skin of my teeth. And here's how it went. From worst book to the best that I read, the worst was the full trilogy of Holly Black's Modern Fairy Tales. I hated this. I didn't like it. I didn't like these characters. I didn't believe the romances. This is YA, but like some of the content kind of glorifies really bad things that I just didn't enjoy partaking in. In the first book, there's like a lot of smoking. Second book has a lot of like drugs and things, as well as like the second book I had a really big problem with because it deals with, and I'm going to say this isn't a spoiler because it happens right in the beginning of the book. The mother of the main character is caught sleeping with her daughter's boyfriend, and hated that, and also hated that at the end, she goes back to mom basically, or like essentially forgives mom. And I'm like, nope, that's a cut ties moment right there. So I kind of hated that message. I don't care. I often hate the message of, oh, be the bigger person and forgive them. Some people don't deserve it, and that's a situation. No, that's a hard pass. There's just a lot that happened in these books. And again, if I'm going to read a fantasy with romance in it, I expect myself to be able to believe those romances. None of them even felt at the forefront to be considered fantasy or to be considered romance in these as paranormal romance books. Also, it's just, I really hated the main themes of this. I guess I think this would have been better if it was aged up to play into the darker, more adult themes rather than YA. And now that's not to say that like teenagers don't experience these things, but the problem was it seemed not to condemn those really bad things. And that's my main issue with it. It's like, yes, YA can have these dark themes, but they should be getting away from those things, not continuing them and showcasing them as a benefit to their lives. So big issue with that. Glad it's over. I almost DNF'd this, but I'm like, no, because I need this for Herkyet. It was in my Challenge Yourself box. And so I have to read it because I'm trying not to redeem any of my points for a thing. Anyway, there's that. Next, it's a wide difference in the scale, but we have Divine Comedy. I love Divine Comedy. Don't get me wrong. Inferno, one of my favorite epic poems. It's just in comparison to narratives, it's not going to beat them. And still, like, Purgatorio is so boring. It's so boring. Inferno really is where it's at. So if you ever are interested in reading Divine Comedy, you really can just read Inferno because it's going to cover all, like, the main themes are just kind of on repeat in Paradiso and Purgatorio. And they're useful in a sense, but dear God, they are boring in comparison to Inferno. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. Then we have The City Inside by Samit Basu. I liked this, but I got confused a lot. It's so short, but it felt like it dragged on forever. I liked the overall concept, was confused a lot of the time as to who I was reading. This might just be the audiobook fault. I wasn't able to tell POV shifts in that, so it caught me off guard quite a bit. So it could just be a fault of that. But overall, like, it's got this dystopian side to things that I do enjoy. But overall, I'm just kind of meh on it. Next up is not a book I physically own, and that is The Court That Bleeds Gold. This is a Rumpelstiltskin somewhat retelling, and I enjoyed this overall. I'm debating if I want to read the sequel or not, because it does leave off on a horrible, horrible cliffhanger. But overall, I still like this one. I did believe the romance in this one at the very least. I liked it's somewhat darker, edgier. That's what I was trying to say. Style to this one. It's still kind of basic on the romantasy scale of things, but sometimes I enjoy that. And so overall, like, yes, this is an enjoyable read. Does it have flaws? Yes. Maybe they get better with the second book and the third book, but I'm really mad at the main characters just not communicating at the end there. And it feels like they did that on purpose so that there could be 2 more books. And I'm just like, about that. So anyway, and following that is another book I don't physically own, but that is The Prince's Heart by Ben Chalfin. This is fine as well. I liked it a little bit more just because it did a few more of the tropes that I do enjoy. I was a little bit surprised by what happened to our villain kind of character at the end there. I had one main issue, and that is because some very significant characters are unalived in this, and the reaction time for our main character did not feel weighty enough, and it did one thing that I freaking hate. In the case of one of the characters that dies and leaves behind a wife that's like, it's fine because I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, girl, it's fine. It's fine that he's not here, that this man you're in love with is gone. It's fine. You can I don't care. I don't think it was handled well. I think this book probably could have used another 100 pages to help it out. The love story is a little insta-lovey, I will say, but it's not like right in your face. I believed our characters because they did spend time getting to know each other a bit, but I do think they jumped in together a little too quick for what was happening. Next up, we have The Whispering Dark. I will say, this one, I thought it was going to be a lot lower because I was not enjoying it at first. I just was kind of bored at first, and then it really did pick up with me. This book does have disability rep. Our main character is deaf, and that is a significant part of the plot. We have really interesting paranormal aspects. We have a good kind of dark academia theme to this, somewhat mystery, kind of undercover, figuring out what is this group that's totally not a cult doing, and why are these people disappearing? What is going on? There's like some really, in the description, it does say necromancy. Yes, there's some interesting necromancy. So I overall enjoyed this. I just felt like it dragged a little bit for me, but overall I do like Kelly Andrews' writing. I think Kelly Andrews, because that was one of her earlier books. I read Your Blood, My Bones. That was excellent. So I do think writing has been improving, so I'm excited to read the next book that I have as an arc by her. I do have a physical copy of this. It's buried somewhere in there, but that is In Every Generation by Kendara Blake. This is a Buffy expansion, and I enjoyed this quite a bit as a huge Buffy fan, and it's really unfortunate I was reading this as Nicholas Brendan just passed away. I actually have, if you guys can see, a signed, right up there, here's my Nicholas Brendan. I have a signed photo from him, and he's a very complicated dude. He went through, sorry, my camera is not, he's a complicated guy. He went through a lot of things, and, you know, he's a type of guy that's just kind of an imperfect person, but I still really love Buffy, and my sisters actually got that for me because they met him. Overall, this just kind of made me go, okay, I guess I'll watch Buffy again, because I love Buffy so much. I love that show. I am so vehemently upset that the reboot of it got canceled because I was very excited to see how they were continuing it. The actress who was going to be the new Buffy, but not actually Buffy, was a different character, was in Anne with an E, which is also one of my favorite shows. And I was really excited for it. And then Hulu pulled the plug, like the doofuses that they are. So hopefully somebody else picks it up. But if you love Buffy nostalgia stuff, this is where you go. It answered the questions that I had when I picked this book, and I was like, wait a second, so who's the dad, if this is Willow's kid. Love that they broke up Kennedy and Willow. That's a little bit of a spoiler, but not really, because it's an insignificant to the whole book. I was worried about that. We do have Oz back, which was great. And it's not like Willow and Oz are suddenly back together, but the character is back. And Oz was one of my favorite characters. I loved him. I was so upset with what happened with him on the show. So just having the character back was really fun. We've got Spike. We've got all these other characters coming in. I think it really had the essence of the show in the book, in my opinion. Not everybody agrees with that, but I definitely, when I was listening to it, I could really feel the vibe of like I was watching the episodes. So there's that. Next up, we have Sanctuary for Seers by Kathleen Baldwin. This is the 5th and final book in Strange House series. I've been reading this series since 2017, and I finally finished it. Oh, I finally finished it. This one came out in 2023. It's with our final girl, Sarah, and Sarah is the character who can kind of see beyond the veil in a way. I won't explain exactly how, because that is kind of spoilery. But I really liked her story. I don't think it's my favorite, because I do think we should have spent a little bit more time with her love interest. We met him previously, and so it's kind of built up in the background of the other books. But in this one in particular, she has so much more chemistry with a different character. And I get why. And she's like, at the end, it's like, no, we have a connection, but it's more like my brother. And I'm like, what's it though? What's it though? Okay, I'll take your word for it. The second book in this series, Exile for Dreamers, is my all-time favorite of it, though. I love Tessa's character. Is just my favorite. I love her and Lord Ravencross's story. So if you want lady spies in Napoleonic era, read this series. It's fun. It's YA. It's clean. This one did have a little bit heavy on the Christian themes, I will say, that I was kind of like about, because anytime I see heavy Christian things in books, I go on it, because I don't like them in there. I don't like the heavy themes being pushed at me. But this one, I get why it was there, because of Sarah's gift and things. So it's whatever. It's fine. There is one thing that I was like, about, and that we did leave a loose thread in one of the characters who has been from the beginning, and it's kind of vital to the point where I'm like, will we get a 6th book and maybe it will be hers, even though she's a villain? But I wouldn't mind reading that. But we are left very open-ended with her fate. So I don't know if Kathleen Baldwin is planning something there or not. But there you go. My number 1 book in this TBR was How to Lose a Goblin in 10 Days. This was fun. It's a cozy fantasy. I love just the shenanigans of this is so fun. I had a great time reading this book. If you like the cozier, humorous, not enemies to lovers, but like, oh, we don't like each other. We're refusing to like each other because of a circumstance, and then go, okay, maybe we like each other, If you like that trope, you will like this book, and it's very fun. I also really loved how it had a lot of nods at Lord of the Rings, but a lot of turning Lord of the Rings on its head, especially with the wizard character. And when you look at Lord of the Rings through a different lens, it's like, oh yeah, that's messed up. I liked that take in this book overall. So anyway, that was my March TBR. Let's get into our spins. It's been a while since we've been on the wheel, so I'm going to reintroduce it to y'all. Here we are on the wheel. This is what was left. I left the wheel alone when I packed it. So every time that we spin one, we'll take it off and put a new one on. Currently, starting with the red, we have a gifted book, an Instagram pick, a 2026 release, CD Tori, Spiffbo, Thirsty Vlogs, Buzzword Readathon, Viewer Choice Pool, TikTok filters, Genre Roulette, a classic, a 2023 acquisition. Those are where we are at. So let's do spin number 1. Please don't do classic. Please don't do classic. Please don't do classic. Oh, thank God. A gifted book. Our gifted, of course, through all of these are all randomly number generated based on categories and things. That's why it's the wheel of randomizing. So our first book is Camp Zero. This was actually gifted to me from Lena when Lena subscribed to Book of the Month. And then if they had a book that they didn't want, they'd give it to me. Or they read and wanted me to read, they'd give it to me. So here's what this one's about. In a near future northern settlement, a handful of climate change survivors find their fates intertwined in this mesmerizing and transportive novel in the vein of Station 11 and The Power. In the far north of Canada sits Camp Zero, an American building project hiding many secrets. Desperate to help her climate-displaced Korean immigrant mother, Rose agrees to travel to Camp Zero and spy on its architect in exchange for housing. She arrives at the same time as another newcomer, a college professor named Grant, who is determined to flee his wealthy family's dark legacy. Gradually, they realize that there is more to the architect than previously thought, and a disturbing mystery lurks beneath the surface of the camp. At the same time, rumors abound of an elite group of women soldiers living and working at a nearby Cold War-era climate research station. What are they doing there, and who is leading them? An electrifying page-turner where nothing is as it seems. I can talk. So that sounds very spooky and interesting. Woo-hoo-hoo. So we're just going to remove that guy. We're going to put it in place a Second and Charles by something I got from Second and Charles. Spin number 2. A Spiffbo book, a book that's been in Spiffbo. Fine with me, because I have one more to read. Next up, we're doing Spiffbo, and I selected this one randomly through all the winners because that is the last slot in my Herked prompt that I need, and we got Orconomics. Professional heroes kill and loot deadly monsters every day, but Gorm Ingerson's latest quest will be anything but business as usual. Making a killing in professional heroics, the adventuring industry drives the economy of Arth, a world much like our own but with more magic and fewer vowels. Monsters hoard are claimed, bought by corporate interests, and sold off to plunder funds long before the beasts are slain. Once the contracts and paperwork are settled, the Heroes Guild issues a quest to kill the monster and bring back its treasure for disbursement to shareholders. While professional heroics has been a great boon for humans, elves, dwarves, and all other people of light, it's a terrible arrangement for the Shadowkin, orcs, goblins, kobolds, and their ilk must apply to become non-combatant paper carriers, or NPCs, to avoid being killed and looted by guild heroes. Even after getting their papers, NPCs are treated as second-class citizens, driven into the margins of society. An insane quest. Gorm Ingerson, a dwarven ex-hero with a checkered past, has no idea what he's getting himself into when he stands up for an undocumented goblin. His act of kindness starts a series of events that ends with Gorm recruited by a prophet of the mad goddess Almatra to fulfill a prophecy so crazy that even Almatran Temple doesn't believe it. Money, magic, and mayhem. But there's more to Gorm's new job than an insane prophecy. Powerful corporations and governments, usually indifferent to the affairs of the derelict Almatran Temple, have shown an unusual interest in the quest. If his party of eccentric misfits can stop fighting each other long enough to recover the elven marbles, Gorm might be able to turn a bad deal into a golden opportunity and win back the fame and fortune he lost so long ago. This sounds like it'll be a raucous time. We are going to put on here a series instead. Spin number 3. Oh, we got series. We just replaced it. Okay, so this one I'm not going to read you the synopsis for, but for my series pick, I randomized all of my in-progress series, and I will read the next book in that series, and that is The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. This is the second book in Eternal Ones or something. No, is that the third book name? I forget it, but the first one's the Gilded Ones, and it was really good, but it had a really fun moment that I can't stop thinking about every time I think about this book. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, series. We are replacing that with a 2024 acquisition. Spin number 4. Shiritori! Okay, this will be fun when we get to it. Okay, but that leads us to Shiritori. And what happens with Shiritori is, so the previous book I just picked is The Merciless Ones, and which ends on an S. So the next book picked must start with an S. That's how Shiritori work. It literally means take from the butt in Japanese. It is a game. It's usually a word game. Very similar. We have it in English too, but I learned about it in Japanese, so I always call it Shiritori. So with that being said, I found a book starting with an S, and that is Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. I like Aaron A. Craig's writing quite a bit, so we're going to try it with this one. Ellery Downing lives in the quiet town of Amity Falls in the Black Spire mountain range, 5 narrow peaks stretching into the sky like a grasping hand, bordered by a nearly impenetrable forest from which the early townsfolk fought off the devils in the woods. To this day, visitors are few and rare. But when a supply party goes missing, some worry that the monsters that once stalked the region have returned. As fall turns to winter, more strange activities plague the town. They point to a tribe of devilish and mystical creatures who promise to fulfill the residents' deepest desires, however grand and impossible for just a small favor. But their true intentions are much more sinister, and Ellery finds herself in a race against time before all of Amity Falls, her family, and the boy she loves go up in flames. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we're replacing that with a Herkyed prompt. Ooh. It didn't pass. It didn't pass. We're going to do genre roulette. Ooh, it almost got a classic. Oh, God. Okay, I'm very excited about this. So genre roulette means I make a spinner wheel of all the genres in my TBR. That's 58 genres. And I spin it, and it gave me steampunk. And so I take all the steampunk books, and I randomize those, and we got a book that I actually got this year at Cosign, which is Children of Solo. It is chunky, but here's what it's about. Pirate Adi Crestone wants freedom from indenture and a safe life for herself and her son. Commander Theo Vanguard chafes under his brutal father's expectations and longs for a quiet life far from political intrigue. Ion Roussenaire yearns for adventure like any young boy and believes he will find it with Adi's crew. All three find their destinies tangled with Aprion, an ancient artifact sought by the Emperor and the Gang Lords. Whoever possesses it can summon divine power in the world system and beyond. Adi must steal Aprion to save her son. Theo must recover it to redeem himself with his father, and Ion's talents in illegal magic may save or destroy the dying moon of Zis, his home. But other, greater forces have their own agendas, and they complicate the wild pursuit of Aprion through underworld dens, deadly magic, and a determined city guard. This should be very fun. I really liked chatting with this author when I met him, so I'm very excited to read his work. And hopefully it holds up to the character of the man. A random number TBR is in its place now. Spin number 6. A 2026 release. Fantastic. All right, next up we have a 2026 release. So, of course, I took all of my arcs that are 2026 releases and randomized them, and we got How to Date a Prince, which is equated with Red, White, and Royal Blue. So we're going to see how it holds up. Here's what it's about. What happens when the British Crown Prince falls in love with an American influencer who wants to get rid of the monarchy? Prince Augie swears he's no kind of dashing prince. Daydreamer, private, and also secretly very gay. He's instantly horrified when his father, reality TV addict King James, signs Augie up for a reality TV show to promote the monarchy, where the man with the most talent wins, and to help find Augie a bride, the very last thing Augie wants. But duty calls. When Augie finds out his co-star is irritatingly gorgeous Thomas Golden, the charismatic dual American-English heir to the Golden Hotel fortune, it's another step too far. There's at least one problem. Prince Augie's already recently crossed paths with Thomas Golden on a disastrous night in a London club. Plus, there's that whole second not-so-small, not-so-secret problem. The Golden family wants to get rid of the monarchy. Once Augie and Thomas arrive on set in the English countryside, it's already unapologetically hate at first sight. It's going to be a very long summer of filming until sparks fly behind the scenes. They make a searing heatwave all of their own as they secretly date, but soon real reality strikes and Augie must choose between the life he's destined for as the future king or dare risk everything for love. We'll see how this holds up. I'm skeptical. And we're replacing that with the 2026 picks, not to be confused with 2026 releases. Our 7th spin. 2026 picks! Hey, that'll do. All right, and for my 2026 picks, I randomized them, and we got Codex Black, A Fire Among Clouds. This is actually a graphic novel that I plan to read during a 24-hour readathon whenever I have the frickin' time. Navigate through monsters, mysteries, and the will of the gods with two young, extraordinary adventurers in 15th century Mesoamerica as they search for a missing father. Donaji is a fearless Zapotec girl who, even though she's only 15, is heralded as a hero by her village. In Codex Black, Donaji sets out on an adventure, accompanied by the god that lives inside of her poncho, to find her missing father. Along the way, she meets an 18-year-old winged Mexico warrior named Itzcacoloti. Sorry, I can't read. And over time, their temporary partnership blooms into an incredible friendship. The search brings the young pair closer to danger and deeper into mystery than either could have predicted. What exactly was Donaji's father involved with? And how did a simple search for a missing relative lead Donaji and Itzcacoloti into a fight with a terrifying bat monster to defend an entire village? How indeed. And I'm replacing them with a Kindle book. Oh, God. Two things I really don't want on this wheel. All right, final spin. Viewer choice pool. All right. Let's do that. And for the time being, what will remain on here is instead a Pango for next time. And finally, from our viewer choice pool, we pulled Dope Sick, Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America by Beth Macy, a nonfiction. Great. I think I still need nonfiction slots, so that'll do. Beth Macy takes us into the epicenter of America's 20-plus year struggle with opioid addiction, from distressed small communities in central Appalachia to wealthy suburbs, from disparate cities to once idyllic farm towns. It's a heartbreaking trajectory that illustrates how this national crisis has persisted for so long and become so firmly entrenched. Beginning with a single dealer who lands in a small Virginia town and sets about turning high school football stars into heroin overdose statistics, Macy endeavors to answer a grieving mother's question why her only son died, and comes away with a harrowing story of greed and need. From the introduction of OxyContin in 1996, Macy parses how America embraced a medical culture where overtreatment with painkillers became the norm. In some of the same distressed communities featured in her best-selling book Factory Man, the unemployed use painkillers both to numb the pain of joblessness and pay their bills, while privileged teens trade pills in cul-de-sacs, and even high school standouts fall prey to jail. Though unsparing yet deeply human portraits of the families and the first responders struggling to ameliorate this epidemic, each facet of the crisis comes into focus. There we go. Okay. I probably had to bleep a lot of that out per YouTube, but yeah, a tough topic to round out a seemingly tough TBR. Will I complete it, or will this be the first TBR I fail this year and receive a punishment? We'll find out, folks. All right, I'm going to go now. I'll see you next time, cuties. Bye. Why are we tilted? I didn't do nothing to you. I do nothing, governor. And he would do anything for love, but he won't do that. Sorry, I'm fine.